Welcome. This is Jeff Phillips with Accountingfly. We are setting up the webinar here and letting everybody file in. Do me a favor, since I'm flying solo this morning, if you don't mind using your question and panel to your right on GoToWebinar and give me a little feedback that you can hear me and you can hear me clearly, I sure would appreciate it. Sound is fine. All right. Thanks, guys. All right, perfect. We are in business. So Jeff Phillips here. I'm dialing in from Pensacola, Florida. This is for most of you, you are on this webinar because it's the beginning of Accountingfly Meet the Firms Week. I'm excited to launch that. Some of you are coming in from CPA Academy. I want to thank the team, Scott Zarrett and Matt over at CPA Academy in broadcasting this as well. So welcome you. And there is, for those of you who are part of Meet the Firms Week, I'm going to be doing a few minutes just on what to do for Meet the Firms Week, what the week is, what it's not, how to make the most of it. I'd love to take your questions as we get towards the end. If you have been on some of my webinars in the past, some of the material you may have seen it before. That's why I want to get the Meet the Firms Week out of the way first. So, because we're going to talk a lot about recruitment process, recruitment branding, how to make the most of the on-campus recruiting. All right. And you already know how to use the question panel, so you guys use that. Give me feedback. A couple other things. We're going to do 4 polling questions during this session. These are important because it helps me to understand what to talk to. It also gives us a sense of what's working and what's not. We intend to do a lot of these, whether no matter time of the year, on recruiting for experienced CPAs, recruiting for students, whatever. So it's our intention to keep doing these types of webinars. All right. So let's get going. Quick introduction. My name is Jeff Phillips. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Accountingfly. We're based in Florida, but we have offices in New York, in Atlanta, and North Carolina. We have been doing this event, National Meet the Firms Week, for 3 years. It is accounting's largest online career fair, and it focuses exclusively on students. And it is a lot of fun to put on. We're going to have 9 webinars throughout the week here just for accounting students, teaching them about their career options, particularly around public accounting. So it's really exciting. A little bit of background. I was a global account manager at Monster.com. What does that mean? Well, one of my clients was H&R Block, and so I was responsible for helping H&R Block land those 30,000 tax preparers every single year into their local offices. And we used recruitment advertising, online media, and online advertising to drive those candidates. And we learned a lot about that because we learned how you can leverage the internet to be a good recruiter. And we figured if we can land 30,000 tax preparers, or at least help H&R Block do that, we can help accounting firms hire a senior accountant or an intern. And that's one of the reasons we launched Accountingfly. We'll talk in great detail about that. Also, I have 3 wonderful children, including little baby Mally. This is the moment where my kids met Mally for the very first time this June. So she's now 4 months old. All right. Here is the reality of the presentation. Here's the reality that drives the presentation. So whether you're here as a part of Meet the Firms Week or just because you want to talk about the topic of positioning your firm to recruit the next generation of talent, it's all about this. It's all about this slide. So here is a slide from Barry Mellencamp of the AICPA at a recent conference. And what you see here is the good news. The good news is that there's more accountants than in accounting programs, in accounting undergraduate programs around the country. There's more students, churning out of these colleges than ever before, and that is awesome. What's not awesome is the fact that the number of people taking the CPA exam is dropping. It's down now to 2006 levels. And there is a lot of opinions about why this is happening, but what we know is that it's not good, right? I mean, what we know is that what it tends to tell me is that a lot of people are coming into the public accounting profession through college recruiting, and that's great, but they're not staying. Okay, that they're leaving the profession for private industry. They're leaving the profession for non-accounting roles, and we're not really sure why that is. Got a few opinions on it, and a lot of this is of this presentation. We'll be sharing those opinions and what we think we can do about it. And so part of why college recruiting is an important topic to talk about is you may not have any trouble actually getting candidates. To me, that's not actually the problem. The problem is, how do we keep them? Or how do we let them go off and try an industry job and then come back? Or how do we let them, how do we communicate to them if they're going to the Big Four, that the public accounting experience in the Big Four is quite different than the public accounting experience in a mid-market firm or the experience of owning a small firm. That's why we do Meet the Firms Week. That's why I want to do this presentation today. Okay? And just so let me tell you a little bit about Meet the Firms Week, especially for those of you who are not participating in this. It's definitely not too late. Okay, this is a free online career fair for college recruiting. Now, if you do any college recruiting, you're probably starting to, if you are a recruiter at an accounting firm, you're probably starting to wrap up college recruiting for the fall. And the reason why we do this a little bit later in the semester is that we want firms that have not made their hiring goals yet to be able to connect with students who are still looking. There are a lot of students signing up for this event. We're averaging about 250 a day. We've had still over 150 sign up today just for this event, and it's already started. But what is it? Well, it's really just, it's a coming together of students and firms, completely free for both sides, so that they can find each other on Accountingfly. What we encourage the students to do is to apply and to connect with these firms. If nothing else, we want them to hear your story and hear what's interesting about your firm. Hopefully, if you're hiring internships or entry level, there's some great candidates in there that you can hire. And we have seen a lot of great candidates come through the system already. If you're an employer using Meet the Firms Week, talk to people who apply. First of all, I would respond quickly, and I would engage anyone that's applying to you. There's a couple reasons. Some students who are doing Meet the Firms Week are attending for the webinars for the education part of this event, and they need to know about your size firm and why it's important, even if they already have a job. They might be going to the Big Four, or they might be going to a private industry, but they need to know why public accounting is a great career, and that's an opportunity for you to teach them. You're going to get some international candidates, and if you have job postings, you've already seen it. So let me talk about that for a second. There is an abundance of candidates who've come over from other countries. Primarily, you're talking China, primarily China, and a few others, who are in the United States on student visas, who are looking to get master's degrees typically. And so when you open up an event like you do on the internet, you're going to get a lot of students because they are struggling to find jobs. They're struggling to find employment because a lot of employers are not interested in processing the visa. They're concerned about cultural barriers, language barriers. It's all out there. So the reality is, if you're joining an event like this, you're going to get international candidates. And so you have to decide what you're going to do about that. Now, if you're like Pat Lawbacker in Dallas, Texas, who is a partner at Judd Thomas Smith, he'd tell you that he's hired international candidates from University of Texas at Dallas, and they're some of the best employees in his firm. And they were able to work through some of the international cultural barriers, language barriers. But the hard work and the dedication, the client service was off the charts. Some firms are just simply not interested in hiring international candidates, and that is up to you. But I just want to, it's important to get this out. If you do an online event, you're going to get a lot of people who are looking for opportunities. So that's going to happen. And we encourage you to think about what you want to do with it and call us if you have any questions. The other piece of this is that if you go back to this slide, this isn't a silver bullet. We're doing this, and we're doing Meet the Firms Week, and we do free college recruiting for accounting firms specifically because we want students to understand their career options. We want them to find great jobs on Accountingfly. But we have a problem on our hands, and the problem is that students are probably losing interest, or young millennial pre-CPAs are losing interest in public accounting. And so Meet the Firms Week is great, we've had probably 3,000 students sign up just in the last couple of weeks. A lot of people looking at your job postings, and you very well may make a hire for an intern or entry level, but it is not a silver bullet. This is a long game, and we intend to do this event every fall and every spring so that we can educate students about small firms, about public accounting, and their careers. And so I encourage you to stick with this, even if you don't get a lot of results that you're looking for. What we're trying to do with this and why we need your help is to change perception among students in small firms, regional firms, whatnot. So it's very, very important. Hashtag MTF15, that's where you can kind of take a peek as the webinars go on at what the student commentary is on our events. So Meet the Firms Week will be 9 webinars, all for students. They are topics like how not to screw up your career in public accounting from Caleb Newquist at Going Concern, how to find an internship, My Life as a Partner in a Mid-Sized Firm by John Bly. We're going to have Amy Vetter from Xero talking about technology you can learn now to be a great candidate. We'll have Mark Koziel of the AICPA speaking about why you should trust your career to public accounting. You can check out all the lineup of events at meetthefirmsweek.com. So we love this event, and if you are an employer and you haven't participated in Meet the Firms Week or you haven't signed up, it's free. You have until the rest of the week. The sooner the better. And because students typically crawl around on the site during the week, in between webinars and at night, and we send different messages and whatnot. So sign up. The other piece of this, we have incredible sponsors for this event. It's free for firms. In a little while, I'm going to tell you about a great offer we have with one of our sponsors, Xero. And when we talk about technology, you need to position your firm to attract talent. Xero is the forefront of that because this is cloud accounting at its very finest. And it is a product that new hires are going to want to use. It's a product you should know about, and you become a free partner. You can become certified for free through this sponsorship. And then also, we are offering firms and employers discounts on CPA review products. So Gleim CPA review, Surgent CPA review, and Wiley CPA Excel are all partners of this, all offering Meet the Firm employers discounts on their products. So when you have someone who needs to pass a CPA exam, they're there for you. So that's Meet the Firms Week. That's a little bit of an overview. I want to talk about college recruiting, and we'll definitely take some questions here at the end. But so check in with questions to the question panel, and I hope you'll get as much out of this as we do. I love Meet the Firms Week. It's a lot of fun, and although Accountingfly's primary focus is helping firms and industry hire CPAs, we do this twice a year to engage with students, to try to raise up a new generation of people who are interested in public accounting, and to change that slide that I showed you earlier. Very well, thank you. Okay, so let's launch some polling questions. I want to find out a little bit more about everybody on the call, and I'm doing the polls, so I'm going to launch this. What is your role? You're an accounting firm partner or owner, accounting firm HR, private industry HR, or other. That other very well could be private industry accountant, or you're just not any of the above. You can be whatever you want to be. So we'll keep these going for about 15 more seconds. And I imagine a lot of people on the call are going to be other because there's a lot of private industry accountants who are checking in on this. And for those of you who are active job seekers, we have not done a lot of webinars on just the job search, but you can always tweet at us at Accountingfly and give us suggestions on webinars. One of the things we're thinking about doing is how to do a discrete job search for a CPA. I think that would be an interesting topic, and we were gathering some data on that. But we like to hear topics from our audience, then we go out and do webinars because we do quite a bit of webinars. All right, so 92% have voted. Just so you on the call, you know who's here. 33% partner owner, 13% accounting firm HR administrator, 3% private industry HR, 52% other. What did I miss? If 52% of you are other, would you hit the question panel? Just tell me what I missed because I clearly wrote the question poorly. If 52% are other, so I'll like to learn a little bit more about that. All right, let's move on. So, um, when it comes to recruiting, I want to talk about some first principles. And the layout of this conversation is going to go, what are the principles that you need to attract your next generation of talent? Okay? How do you position the firm to attract? Meaning, how do you upgrade the firm? Okay? And then how do you communicate that firm, that brand? How do you communicate what makes the firm great? And what's the process you need to be effective at recruiting? The better your brand is, the more your firm or your organization invests in the brand, it reduces turnover, okay, which is critical in college recruiting, and it it reduces your cost per hire. It also gets you more quality applicants. So that means investing in a brand. What do I mean by brand? What I mean is that you've created a best place to work, okay, one of the best places to work among the options of your candidates, and that you communicate that effectively, that you communicate it clearly. There are some questions I'm going to pose to you later in the presentation that you can leverage to answer what your brand is, and you'll find that asking those questions helps articulate the brand. It will also help articulate what you might need to fix. Okay. So before we get going, I want to ask this second poll question, then there won't be a lot of other poll questions after that. But my organization is a small firm, okay, up to 10, a mid-sized firm, and I'm not following the traditional sort of accounting today or AICPA protocol here. I'm just trying to break this out so that we have kind of an idea of where you work. And as I figured, about 52% is a small firm, up to 10 partners. We've got 80% of the votes here, and 40% is we're not an accounting firm. So, all right, very good. Sorry about that. All right, so about split evenly between small firms mostly, and we're not an accounting firm. Thank you. All right, and I'll move this along. So I want to give you, I'm violating one of the biggest rules of presentations here, is that you don't put a lot of copy on a presentation. However, I'm going to put a lot of copy on this presentation, on this slide at least, and share with you our student CPA checklist. Some of these things you're doing really well, okay? Some of these things you might not be doing at all. But let me walk through each one, and I'd be curious if you want to fire off in the question panel what you're doing well, what you're not. I'm going to start in the middle here, actually, and at number 3, and talk about understanding the audience. You can't attract the next generation of talent unless you understand who they are, and that means understanding millennial students, understanding their preferences, and understanding what they want in a workplace. I want to share with you in a few minutes a little bit of some stories about that, and that's going to help you understand where you have to make upgrades in your organization. But I'll tell you up front that it's going to be things like being upfront and clear and embracing flexibility. I'm going to define that. Giving a clear path to partner. I think one of the things young talent tends to hear is that, yeah, I can get to a senior position in maybe 2 years, and then maybe it'll take another 5 to 6 or 7 years to get to a supervisor or manager, and then I'm going to sit in a parking lot and not be promoted to partner. There's a rising sense among young CPAs that they're going to have to wait for partners to move on, to retire, before they can get to partner. That is trickling down to the student level, and it's making them less interested in public accounting. And then you have really interesting firms who are looking at this more of a meritocracy and saying, hey, we're going to give you the tools to build a business, and if you're building a business, we can fast track you through this. Regardless, you want to communicate that. And above else, if you are selling the values of the organization, you better make darn sure that when the people show up to work, that those values are in line with what you promoted. It's very, very critical. Hopefully you're onboarding well, but one thing I want to comment on onboarding, this isn't an onboarding call, but when we talk about student recruiting, you really hopefully don't have a lot of challenges attracting candidates. It's about keeping them. If you can reinforce the value of remaining at a firm, you'll close that gap, because the students they become young hires, talent who will go into your firm will get phone calls from Robert Half. Okay, they will get calls from recruiters. They are going to get on Accountingfly and look at opportunities. They are going to get curious, and many of them will leave. And that may be okay that they leave, but some of we know that a lot of them will go to private industry. However, are you communicating with them about how lucrative it is to be a partner in an organization, in your company? Are you talking about how much money you're making as a partner or as an owner and what the future looks like for them? I tend to coach firms and firm owners who are not even broaching that topic. And they want to be paid, and they want to see a bright light at the end of that tunnel, and to talk about the lucrative opportunities of being a partner and reinforcing that is very important in their trajectory. I want you to, in the ones I've underlined, we're going to spend more time on. The ones I've not underlined, we will not, but I'm happy to speak with anyone after the call. Quality is more important than quantity when it comes to college recruiting. I've talked to a lot of firms who recruit at a lot of different schools. I've recruited, a mid-market firm going to 25 schools to hire 10 people. That's ludicrous. You're spreading yourself so thin, you're going to drive yourself crazy. And I get it. It's a tight labor market, so it's hard to hire. But play the long game here and invest in fewer schools, but go deeper with each one. How do you do that? Teaching a class, volunteering to teach a case study, teach an ethics case study for your financial accounting professor. Do a resume review through the Career Center. It goes a lot beyond just going to the Meet the Firm event. And it goes a lot beyond just going to speak at a Beta Alpha Psi meeting, although you should be doing that too. The relationships you build with professors will change the course of your whole ability to get great talent, because I don't think anyone's going to have trouble getting applicants from college. I do think you're going to have a hard time getting incredible applicants from colleges. And part of the key to doing this is that deep relationship with the school itself. You've got a base of professors who are pushing students towards the Big Four until they get to know you as a partner, as an owner, or as an employer in local community. And so it's very important that they get to know you. And the way you do that is by investing in your local school. And that's important no matter what kind of organization that you're in. Respond quickly. So in this market, whether it's a student or a CPA, and do you guys know about the labor market? I mean, right now there are more accounting students than ever before, and yet demand for accounting students is at its all-time peak. Demand for senior accountants is at an all-time peak, and demand for manager supervisors is off the charts, highest in decades. So you have to respond quickly, because job applicants are, at one point, they're going to be a browser, and they might be interested in applying to you. They see you on a website or on the school site or Accountingfly. Respond as fast as you can. That holds true for every level, students or experienced. I'm going to show you the 5 questions in just a moment that help to articulate your employer brand. I want you to align your website, your postings and descriptions, and your talking points to those five answers to those questions, because that's why we talked earlier about employer brand being so critical. So how do you build that? You build it 2 ways. You cross up the first checklist by upgrading your company and making it a great place to work, and then you communicate why it's a great place articulately through answering these 5 questions. And then the other way to find your next generation of talent is to communicate in the way that they receive information. And I have to tell you, I own a job board, or I'm an owner of a job board, a CEO of a job board. But it's not about the job board. It's about the content that delivers candidates to the job board, to your website. And you want to communicate things in ways that they understand and appreciate. Lastly, I don't care if you're a one-man shop or the Big Four. Recruiting is a process that needs to be organized, and if you're not organized, it will fall apart. You can be the greatest place to work, and you can communicate it better than anybody else. But if you don't have a process where all applicants go in one place and they are stored in a database, then you will lose candidates, you will not respond quickly, you will not make fast decisions, and then you will not build talent pools so that you can recruit for the future. We give employers a free tool just to have a recruitment process. We call it an applicant tracking system. So I'll share more about that in a moment. All right, so this is available, by the way, as a handout through the GoToWebinar panel. So you can access this. I also have it in a PDF. You're welcome to email me, jeff@accountingfly.com, if you would like to receive a PDF copy of this with a little more detail. It includes the 5 questions. All right. Now, we're talking about campus recruiting, and I want to know, why is this a struggle? Why are you on today's webinar, and what your biggest struggle with college recruiting is? If you're trying to recruit students, that's probably why you're here, since we're talking about positioning your firm to attract the next generation of talent. So what is it that's struggling and bothering you? And I'm going to give 10 seconds and check in with the questions here to make sure we're great. Okay, so we're wrapping up at 70%. Keep the votes coming in so we can get to 80%, and we'll turn this off. But it's interesting. It's across the board. So a third of you are worried sourcing. Young talent is not interested in our organization. And if I know that you have a small organization, because 50% of the employers are from small firms, then I'm thinking that it's a sourcing and attractiveness issue to small firms, which is the very reason why we're doing a Meet the Firms Week, which is great. So 22% says inventory. There's no one out there to hire. I hear you. 22% says retention. We can hire them, but we can't keep them. And that is a major problem. If you're an other, I'd love to see just some of the answers in the question panel, and I'll even read them out. But I'm going to close this poll now. Thank you so much for answering these. Interesting. So inventory and sourcing is about half of this, but the other pieces, yeah. I just got one note that challenges in all students looking to go Big 4 or regional. We're a 60-person office, 60-person in the office firm. Yeah. I think that's a big problem, and it's one of the reasons we do Meet the Firms Week, is we've got to educate students on you may be suited well for the Big 4, and that's great. We're not going to stop you from doing that, but do you understand? So let me tell you a story, especially for the person that put this answer in. I was talking to a candidate who said they're going to work at EY, Ernst & Young, and in their DC office, I guess. And she was a student at the University of Maryland, and I asked her, who recruited at your school? And she said, well, the Big 4, some of the top 10. I said, did any small firms recruit at your school? And she said, yes, Cohn-Resnick recruited at our school. And I just started laughing. I said, Cohn-Resnick's one of the largest firms in the country, and is that the perception among students? You know, what's interesting is when we look at what you're struggling with, a full half said it's either inventory, there's no one to hire, or they're not interested in our type of firm, which is typically a smaller organization. You know, there is a big misconception out there. With 45,000 students graduating and only about 16,000 going to the Big 4, there's enough inventory. There's perfectly enough inventory. That's not the problem. I think the problem is perception. Why do you think Cohn-Resnick is a small firm? And if you think Cohn-Resnick is a small firm, what must you think about the type of firm my dad owned for 40 years, which is a 2-partner, 10-person shop? So we will never be able to change the prestige factor of the Big 4. Don't want to. It is very prestigious, and it's an incredible career path, obviously. But what we have to do is rise up the interest and the awareness and the value proposition of smaller firms. So I want to talk about how we do that. And one way we do that is through content. So when I mentioned earlier that a really good brand means it means being a great place to work and then communicating it effectively and communicating in a way that young accountants can interpret it. Part of the way that you communicate is through content. All right, and what's content? I'll tell you in a second. We found an interesting study that basically said for more experienced people, but I think the same can be true even for college, the quality of the content that you produce or that's associated with your brand, your employment brand, has a direct impact on the quality and the amount of people who apply to your job postings. So if I saw a piece of content that you produced, and then I saw a job posting from you, and I was like a manager level, I'd be more likely to apply than not. This isn't saying that the more experienced you are, the more likely your content is going to be to convert you to become an applicant. It's more like it's as you go through more experienced levels of candidates, it's the primary way you're going to convert somebody. But it does ring true with college. And what do I mean by content? I'm going to give you some great examples in a minute, but I think about a firm that was recently acquired in LA called RBZ. RBZ had a partner there named Charlie Osaki. Charlie wrote a blog just for recruiting, for college and young accountants. And this blog was nothing but good advice for job seekers. It was not a sales pitch. It was just good content. But interestingly enough, RBZ was one of the best recruiting firms I have ever seen because Charlie got the value of good content. So that kind of advice, and the content is stuff that people want to read. People typically do not want to read your sales pitch. They do want to read your quality content. And you know, the content that you produce can be, I'll show you some details in a minute, but it can be a blog, it can be an infographic, it can be a webinar, a video. So we know that content is important, but how are you going to convince them if you don't know who they are? So let me spend 5 minutes talking about your audience, okay, college recruits and young accountants. So this is Jacqueline. Jacqueline's a new hire at a Big Four, and she went to the Big Four firm that she went to specifically because they had a dedication to community service. I was on a panel with Jacqueline, and we didn't talk a lot about accounting recruitment or college recruiting. She talked a lot about the reason why she went to the firm she went to is because they are serious about community service. And the point she made to me was, she goes, I can very confidently say that I'm speaking on behalf of my entire generation. All right, and to give you a sense of perspective, she graduated in last May, so she's 22, 23, I guess. And she said that, in fact, my entire generation is looking for authentic employers who are making good profits and excellent businesses, but who invest in my community with a real dedication, not one day a year, but they're going to let me be a community servant. She also said that my definition of flexibility is flexibility, not favor, is what I'm asking for. I'm not asking for your favor. I'm asking for you to trust me that if I have to take care of a personal errand or do community service, I will come in on Saturday and finish the work. And I think that's a challenge for accounting firms, especially smaller accounting firms, to sort of step up and say, we're going to break this paradigm of FaceTime around here, because even though that's how it was for me as a partner, that's changing, and we're going to embrace this. I talked to some of you are doing this great. Some of you probably can work on this a little bit, and we're happy to talk about it. But whether you like it or not, if you're trying to recruit that next generation of talent, okay, these are important topics that they want. Liz worked at a top 10 firm. She is a high performer, and she is outstanding. I was on a panel with Liz at XeroCon last year, or this year. And a point that she made to me that just floored me was, she had worked at a firm, and they sort of sold her, they wooed her, and they talked about the values of the organization. And it felt good. She liked what they were saying to her. when she showed up and entered her team, the values that the recruiters, the type A extroverted recruiters were selling her on was nowhere near was actually happening inside an audit team, okay, at this top 10 firm. And she quit. And she could write her own ticket. She could go wherever she wanted to. And so Liz was gone. And she made a point of saying that if you're going to talk about your values and talk about who you are, if it doesn't align, my generation, we're leaving. We're not going to stick around. The average millennial changes jobs about every 2 years. That's a reality point that we're going to have to deal with. And so your question is, well, how do I find that next managing partner? How do I identify and keep them? Hopefully, some of these points are like soft issues that can help guide you just in how you position the company. One of our presenters for Meet the Firms Week is Rebecca Brown with Maryland Society of CPAs. So Rebecca's a CPA, started out at a mid-market firm, and that wasn't a fit for her, and so she ended up going and coaching students and young CPAs on their career path, and she's outstanding. One of the points she made to employers was to set clear career path expectations. And she said that it's on you to be proactive here, because she said she felt like she was a rare accountant in her starting class who was willing to sort of challenge her bosses and say, I want you to sort of tell me if I do X, then Y will happen. She goes, but a lot of accountants were introverted in my class at this firm, and they're not willing to sort of step up and say this. So my recommendation is you take ownership of that conversation and take ownership of what do you want your career to look like. And Rebecca's point was, I'm going to trade my first couple of years. I'm going to trade you, employer, a lot of hard work. And in those couple of years, I'm going to figure out what my career path is going to look like. And it may not be traditional. And so I'm willing to trade hard work if you will help me to understand what my path looks like, so that I can make good decisions about my career. And she likened her own career to sort of, she realized she was not destined to be a CPA. She wanted to go into recruiting, but the firm did not want a recruiter, although they are a fairly large firm. And so she left. And that's okay, but it was, I think the frustration on her part was not kind of aligning career path expectations from the start, and not saying if you do this, you'll get Y. I think it's really important that partners are upfront about the money you're going to make, how long it's going to take, what it's going to take to be a partner. I think it's important that firms sort of upgrade by saying, you do the work, you bring the results, you are a high performer, you will be a partner faster than your peers. There's nothing wrong with that. I know there's a lot of issues baked into that, but this is kind of what this large millennial generation is looking for. So set clear career path expectations and be very proactive with your hires. If you want to have a good employer brand, if you want people to want to work there, you've got to have an office environment that they want to work in. It needs to be a nice physical environment. Okay, we got to get rid of so the firm that I'm picturing is one I grew up working in, and it had some green shag carpet. It had some dark wood paneling. We had the coffee maker from home. This generation isn't looking for that. Okay, you should embrace the latest technology. So we did a poll of young accountants and asked them how important is technology to where you want to work. And it was overwhelmingly very important, and it wasn't for the reasons that I thought. One of the reasons was that if the firm is using old school desktop software, if the firm is not embracing the cloud, the firm does not know like things about Xero or Receipt Bank or Zen Payroll, then it's a signal to me that they're not in it for the long haul. And why should I be in it for the long haul if they're not? It's interesting because the technology that serves the accounting space is in a really neat period of innovation. It's important that you understand what the technology is that's out there. We'll give you as a follow-up email to this free partnership training certification for Xero, which is bookkeeping accounting software for small businesses, and it's a fantastic product. But you have students coming out of school who want to be using that product. And I mentioned community service earlier. These aren't just anecdotal opinions. This is information that we've gone out and asked young students, young accountants and students, like what it is that they're interested in when it comes to their employment. All right, so now that we have improved the firm, all right, you've got latest technology, you have improvements in your office space, even minor improvements. All right, you've made a commitment to community service. You've made a commitment to offering more flexibility. You've made a commitment to setting much clearer career paths, maybe even being more proactive about fast-tracking high performers or knowing that you will lose them if you don't. How do you communicate it? Okay, how do you get it out there? And that's where your employment brand comes in. All right? So 5 questions you must answer in order to connect with an applicant. And we look at this as a science, okay? I want you to answer 5 questions and start thinking about maybe even making notes now. And then we want your job postings, your talking points in the interviews, your website, your social media to reflect the answers in this, because these are the results of multiple polls and surveys of millennial accountants, both students and experienced, asking them, if you had to choose between one firm and another, what are the 5 things that you'd want to know? Notice on here that what you do not see is the type of work. And that is it's interesting that it's not on here, and it's because students perceive, except for they really just see it in 3 tranches. You've got the big 4, private industry, and sort of everything else, which is the mid-market. And the truth is, in the top 200, the work is very similar to the big 4. When you get out of the top 200 small firms, then you should articulate what makes the work interesting. But it's really about what makes the firm different. So you want to answer why work in our size firm. And I always advise you to lead with that, because if you can get the firm size and firm type out of the way first, you're going to attract the people that you want to attract and repel those that you don't. There's some that are just big 4 material, but there's also entrepreneurial people, or people who want a little more balance in their life, or people who are really serious about accounting and want to work with clients and serve clients. They do not know about you, and they do not know about the benefits. And so even though your firm's great, or maybe it's not, if you lead with firm size and answer this question and answer it first in every recruitment communication, you will have an incredible impact. We have a small firm on our site called Catching Clouds, which is a husband and wife partner firm in Colorado. This is not a large firm. And they posted a job, and even their very job posting led with what is great about their firm, what's unique about it, and about the firm size. They use their small size to an advantage. We're family operated, we're flexible, we're remote, we're going to develop you, and we're looking for entrepreneurial, out-of-the-box thinkers. They outperformed, in the month of September, they outperformed most job postings on Accountingfly, including top 10 firms, by leading with this information. What does your firm stand for? That goes to the values or the principles of the organization. Why should you, candidate, trust your career to our firm? We know that this is an important choice, and we know that you can work wherever you want to right now, because inventory of jobs is off the charts. So why trust our career? What does your future look like here? 3 years down the road, if you're a high performer, what stage will you be at? 5 years down the road, what will it be like? And it will not look like your own career. It won't look like your own CPA career to partner. It will look different for the next generation. So articulate that now. And then what is our culture? Are we buttoned down and serious? Are we casual? Are we silly? In which there are silly accounting firms. Are we edgy? Give the stories that articulate what makes the culture unique. and that's absolutely critical. So answer these 5 questions, and then the rest of it becomes a piece of cake. Then it becomes a matter of getting the right copywriting and putting it in to the right places. Get your site right. Answer the 5 questions on your website. Have your job postings on your website. Have testimonials on your website. Have links to your social media on your website as well. RBZ, who's now part of Armanino, had a website just for recruiting called rbzcareers.com. It's no longer here. Invest in social media. If you're a small firm, you don't have time to do this. You can outsource this, but you should use social media for your business development and your recruiting because it continually reminds people of the culture and the 5 questions. And you know what's great about content marketing is if you're developing blog posts, if you're developing videos, if you're developing webinars, you use social media as a way to distribute that content. Remember how content increases the quality of the applicant from earlier? Social media is the delivery system for that, and you don't have to do it. You can pay local agencies in town to automate all of that for you because I know you don't have time. You can share your content on Accountingfly, and when it comes to college recruiting, you do a lot of this for free. We're the most relevant job board in the accounting space, and we believe in quality through content. We believe firms should recruit all year long, and we offer an applicant tracking system that happens to be free. I'll tell you about that in just a second. What is content? So here's how we approach content. For our clients, we produce videos where we interview the firms. We have our firms in webinars, like expert webinars, and teaching candidates about topics like for a day in the life of a forensic accountant, for example. Other content is your blog, which you can also outsource, creating infographics, which you can outsource, images and pictures, which you can outsource and not use stock images on your website, your Accountingfly profile and posting, which we can write for you, and your website, which you can outsource. So you see how it starts to trickle down where you have those, you build a better organization that millennials are interested in, which really is a matter of changing policies, not changing infrastructure. And then you answer those 5 questions to start to attract that next generation of leadership, the next generation of talent. And then here are just the tactics that you use to communicate this. One I want to add to this is your interviews. I would lead every interview with answering the 5 questions, specifically the question, why work in our size firm? I think that you have an opportunity on campus interviews through events like Meet the Firms Week to connect with people, and it's an opportunity to tell them about a small firm, to tell them that small firms aren't Cohn-Resnick, right? That our firm is remarkable and has a remarkable career path for you because of the following reasons. You know, job boards like ours are excellent ways to get the word out. In my opinion, a job board is a landing page for all the other content that you do. We know it because our content that we produce with our clients has grown our traffic 25 times in 15 months. And that just drives traffic into our job postings. Whether you're doing Meet the Firms Week or any college recruiting, it's free on Accountingfly. You can post a job. This is a profile. It doesn't look like your typical job board profile does it, but it helps tell a story because we put images on there, and you've got opportunity to really answer those 5 questions on a posting. This is the Catching Clouds job posting. So we help customers build the job postings and make it internet ready. We do webinars in every different city and include our clients in those webinars, so like top public accounting jobs, Chicago, Miami, Austin. All right, and we include our customers in those. We do events, and these are all examples of content marketing, including events like Meet the Firms Week, which starts today, which starts right now in this call. Being present in events, in online recruiting, in virtual recruiting events like Advance, which happens in which we did this past June. This is for experienced CPAs. Meet the Firms Week for students. It's a great way to get your brand in front of job seekers. You know, Meet the Firms Week, if you don't do college recruiting, there's people in this webinar that have chimed in and said, I don't do college recruiting. Then that's fine. We would encourage you to do some college recruiting because this is how you're going to get candidates in 2 years for senior positions, as crazy as that may sound. So lastly, I'm going to spend 5 or 6 minutes on your process. So like going back to the building blocks here. Improving the organization especially around some policies of recruiting. That upgrades the company. Then you answer the 5 questions to be able to articulate an employment brand. Then you use the mere tactics of communicating that plan, the social media. You can use Accountingfly and the videos we produce. You can produce your own webinars or produce one with us. Literally, we would love to have you as an expert in one of our webinars. Have a blog. Attend events. So all these ways gets the word out for your organization. And then the best candidates in the world don't mean a thing if you don't have a slick process to get them hired. And if you don't hire them, you have a way to hire them later, which is very, very important. I want to talk about that. So 85% of recruiting is spent doing administrative work, not talking to students, or you can replace students with CPAs if you're talking about experience recruiting. There's too much paper in recruiting, especially if you're a firm that goes to a college campus. They inundate you with PDF resumes of every college candidate that you want to interview. What do you do with all those resumes? Well, rule 1 is every applicant for every job goes in one place. Now, you may have an applicant tracking system, and that's great. If you do, use it. If you want a free one that helps, that was built for accounting recruitment, you can use Accountingfly. It's part of our services. And then we can even put a button on your website that says apply with Accountingfly. If you're a member of PCPS and you join Meet the Firms Week through that partnership, you have an opportunity to have a consult, and we'll get this button on your website for you for free. I mean, it's all free, but to do it for you and take the work out of your hands. You just got to set a meeting with your hiring advocate, and if you want to email me, I can make that happen. But you've probably gotten an email from Beth Jerker before, and that is who will do this for you. Look at the benefit of this, though. Whether it's somebody who comes to your website, who applies on any job board in the world, every applicant, when they see your site, they click on Accountingfly and they add their data. Now you've got every applicant you've ever interacted with in one place. And P.S., if you do go to campus and you go through the college recruiting process, we add those candidates for you into Accountingfly. So now you've got everyone that applies through the web and everyone that applies to you through campus or referrals imported into Accountingfly. So they're not sitting in your email inbox. They're actually sitting in your Accountingfly account, ready for you to rank them, share them, add notes on them, or even communicate with them. I love this product because it makes lives easier. So you've got all these PDF resumes or maybe paper resumes, and they sit in a file on your computer or they sit in a file in your office and gather dust. Those resumes are perishable items. They are leads that could turn into candidates that can turn into hires. P.S. They could turn into hires later down the road that you don't have to pay headhunters for. And that's why I say this 4th bullet point here is building talent pools. Building talent pools is the key benefit of organizing and automating your recruitment. Because I'll give you a story. We work with a top 10 firm in the Northwest, and they put every resume they meet on campus into Accountingfly. So we do the same thing for you. They've been doing this since 2013. Now what they're doing is going back to those resumes that we imported for them from 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And they are hiring the people that are in that database. The people they didn't hire the first time around, typically we're talking about Big 4 candidates who we know they leave at years 2 and years 5. So they're poaching them from Big 4 customers, or Big 4 firms. And that's because they organize their talent around Accountingfly and put all their candidates into one place. The other benefits are it eliminates your data entry and your admin tasks. You get to respond faster to candidates because we give you a notification that says this is a good candidate, you're going to want to apply to this candidate. You can upload transcripts, notes, documents, interview notes, share it for an on-site interview. Just getting recruiting into the cloud really reduces your workflow, and it makes it so much more effective. So we know firms that are in the mid-market that are routinely out hiring the Big 4, and they're small. because they follow a lot of these practices. And what I'd like to do is very quickly is just review the checklist. So upgrade your company, onboard well, you know the audience. The homework in the next step is to answer those 5 questions and to make sure that those 5 questions are in everything that you produce. You can talk to us, Judy Shriver on the sales side, Beth Durker as a client advocate, who can show you how we can produce content for you, which is fine, or just give you advice on how to produce it yourself. Upgrade the firm, communicate the brand effectively and in channels that millennials will receive it well, and have a process to capture every last one of them. That is really the formula for recruiting your next generation of talent. So I'm going to close with a story. I was talking to Earl Blackman the other day. Earl is a managing partner, I believe, of Hartman Blackman Kilgore. They're in the Mobile, Alabama area. And this is what he said, and I think about a lot of you on the call. He said, Jeff, we do not have trouble hiring students. But what I really want to hire is that young version of me, is that person who is like, I'm using my words, not his, like a 5-tool player. They've got the smarts, the work ethic, the integrity, the communication skills, the leadership skills to come in and be the next me in 15 years. How do I find that person? And, all of this blocking and tackling recruiting work that I'm talking about is really about answering that question. Be an attractive place to work. Know how to communicate this the right way so that you can build that brand, you can build that attractiveness. And a lot of that has to do with communicating your size of firm, because Earl was a guy who wanted to go to the Big Four, and then realized there was an awesome firm in their area that he could work at, and he went in that direction. He changed course. How are you going to change course of young talents to sort of be that next you, to use his analogy? I believe that these tools are the way to make that happen. And we see it time and time again. But it won't. If you do the exact same stuff that you've been doing up to now, you'll get the exact same results. And I think everyone's just a little bit dissatisfied with who they're hiring, outside of the Big Four. Last polling question, then we will wrap up. I will do this first. The most valuable part of this presentation for me. So I'd like your candid feedback, and please use the question and answer, because we want to make sure that these are valuable for you. I want to do this again. I'd like to have you, but is it learning the job market overview? Is it learning about your recruiting process? Just learning about Accountingfly and what we're doing, or it wasn't valuable at all? And if it wasn't valuable for you, tell me why in the question panel, because I want to fix that. We want to be a resource here to help employers hire better CPAs and hire better firms. Obviously, this is our commitment. This is our mission. And so it's cool. So really, it's almost everybody on the call is talking about the industry and the job market overview and learning how to improve our recruitment process. That's fascinating. That's great. Thanks for having this. As we wrap up here, I will, with 84%, I can close this. One thing I wanted to follow up with you about is one of our sponsors, who is Xero, and we are grateful to Xero because Meet the Firms Week is completely free for firms because of sponsors who help put this event on, like Xero. Xero is unbelievable. It's cloud accounting software, ranked the #1 world's most innovative growth company, and it is small business accounting software. As part of our partnership, I can offer you free live online Xero certification, meaning you can become a partner of Xero, which is free, and then get the training on Xero, also for free, save you $250. You'll be getting an email from us just with that link. Feel free to use that. Please acknowledge our partners who allow us to help you recruit students at no cost We're grateful for the work that they're doing. All right, guys, this is wrapping things up. Accountingfly Meet the Firms Week is in full force. Respond to candidates who apply. If you have not signed up for Meet the Firms Week, please do at meetthefirmsweek.com. Your feedback, we are grateful for it. We're grateful that you're here too, and I hope you have a wonderful day. We're at the top of the hour, so I'm going to drop the call now and end it. Give you back your time, but we appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for being a part of Meet the Firms Week, and thanks for attending. Bye for now.